before awakening and during the awakening process, I was quite opinionated and quite proud of the fact that I held strong ideas about how I thought things should be, and just thought this was a part of my personality. And then it was revealed to me through the awakening process that that was a part of ego and was something that was surrendered completely during the awakening process. And now, of course, I see that in other people because I can remember how it was in myself. And in one sense, the more opinionated we are, the stronger and more fixated our ideas about how we think things should be, the more in the trance we go. And the more we don't know how things work, and the more we're in the unknown and really just floating in this river of mystery and unknown, the more awake we are. So it is a useful pointer to help us to see where we might be getting fixated and going from I know the answers, I know everything, and let me tell you all about it, to simply I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't have the answers. Maybe I don't know anything. It's a very liberating place to get to. But for some of us, and it would have been myself included, it would have been quite painful to operate in that way of not knowing. So this is a part of spiritual maturity. It's a strange part of maturity because the further along you go, the less you know. And so, but you have no conflict or resistance to that. You realize that that is just the reality, and all of those things that you thought you knew, particularly about reality and awakening, you really didn't know. And so you don't hold on to any ideas. You can have an opinion, but you don't hold on to it. That's the difference. And in that, you can also hold on to paradoxes and completely conflicting parts of reality, like I'm emptiness and I'm everything. That can mean total sense to you, and you have no resistance to the fact that that is not logical in any way. You're just like, okay, yeah, that's just what's true. And so the mind trying to problem solve and analyze that and try to put it into a neat little box and get it to make sense and to justify it for whatever reason, that capacity of mind is not there anymore once you're awake. So it's quite a relief to not be doing that process anymore. We're a species of mind heavy orientated beings, and that's just where we're at. And we use the mind for many things, but we use it to make us feel secure and safe and to work things out. And the mind is a problem solving machine, it is useful for that. But when it comes to awakening and reality, it is stumped because it cannot do it, because it cannot know something that is outside of itself. And so in that, it gets very frustrated, but we'll try to learn, and we'll watch a lot of videos and read a lot of books and try to educate itself to try to get a handle on the understanding conceptually of awakening and reality. And it might be able to get somewhere as far as conceptually understanding it, but it's never going to be able to truly grasp it because it is ungraspable by mind. And so this even needs to be surrendered, and there's a shift that happens on the awakening path, is letting go of trying to know it. But in that, so much of knowing and opinions and holding on to fixed ideas is dropping away through the awakening process, not just to do with reality and awakening, but really everything. We start to go from being someone that we might see as like, this is the thing that I know most about. If I was to do a public talk, this is what I would talk about. This is the thing I know about, and have these specialties, to questioning everything and going, what do I really know about this? This was something that was just taught to me. I was like this before I was a psychic medium, before I started doing this type of work. And in that, I started to realize I don't know how any of this works. I know what I've been taught and what I'm supposed to say, but how does it actually work? Are there really deceased people talking to us from the other side or hanging around here? Is that what's actually true? What do I actually know? And awakening was ensuring that I examined all of this and see, what do you really know to be true about everything? What do you really know to be true? Not what you were taught, but what your direct experience is. What do you really know? And I started to see just how much I didn't know. And I went from being maybe a bit of a know-it-all about certain subjects, things that I liked, such as diets and exercise programs and things like that, where I would know a lot of information about it, know a lot about spirituality. I knew a lot. I was confident in those areas. I wanted to take over conversations and talk about topics that I like to talk about. And I went from being like that to really just not knowing anything and not really having much to share about anything. If I was in a social situation, it wasn't me trying to do a practice, it's that it was breaking. I just didn't know. If someone asked me, so what happens when you die? You're a medium. I'd just say, I really don't know. I don't know if anyone knows. How could we know? And this made it more and more difficult to just operate in the ways that I had been operating in the past, doing those roles. And so lots of changes had to be made. And so this breaking this, I know things. I know things. I'm a specialist at this. This is the thing that I know most about. Instead, there was this questioning of, do you know? Do you know how life purpose works? Do you know? Do you know how psychic gifts work? Do you actually know? Not what you're taught, but what do you actually know to be true? Truth was shining the light on every single area of my life and seeing what I truly knew and letting go of that capacity even to start to just assume that I knew the answers to things. And this was extremely beneficial for awakening. This really helped in the process of awakening to just let go of that whole strategy of trying to know anything. You can still function in the world quite fine without that. You might not sound like the most educated, intelligent person going around, but you don't care when you're awake because you're happy, you're not suffering. And you are living from this place of, I really don't know how any of this works. And so you can teach and give assumptions and theories. You can say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is how I experience reality. This is what emptiness feels like. But if someone asks you for certain, what is this all about? Why are we all here? The answer is always, I don't know. And the further along you go in the process, the less you know, the less answers you have. It's truly kind of a bizarre part of awakening. It's quite shocking to see that you don't have any answers to anything, and yet you have no conflict to that. You just live in the peace of the mystery of, we don't really know anything. How is this universe here? How is this world here? And we're spinning around with all of us on here. How does any of this work? How does gravity work? How does any of it work? I really don't know. But the fun part about being awake is also that you don't care. And so you just know that you don't know, and you know that you don't need to know, and you can just operate just fine without that. You really can. And so this opinions and this fixation and that I have the answers keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck and identified. And the more we can just go, I don't know. I don't know. Don't come to me for the answers. I don't know anything anymore. I'm not an expert on anything. Turn to someone else for if you want answers. I really don't know. And you become that person. The more we wake up, the more we start to rest in the mystery of who we truly are.